Will Russia ban MGTOW? Hello everybody and welcome to One Mail. I'm going to be discussing Russia's recent ban on MGTOW and what it could mean for the movement as a whole. This is a huge development in the fight for men's rights, and I wanted to take a few minutes to discuss what it could mean for the future of the movement. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future. There are millions upon millions of people there. It is not possible to provide an accurate estimation of the enormous amount of labor that is performed there. Is there anything that men can use in 9/10 of these retail establishments? All of life's luxuries are at the woman's beck and call, and she is the one who provides them. If you count the factories, you'll find that the majority of them produce decorations for women. Millions of men, many of whom have been enslaved for decades, give their lives while toiling like prisoners so that our friends might indulge their caprices. Women acting as rulers are responsible for imprisoning 9/10 of the world's population, either as war captives or as enslaved people. In any case, let's go on to the next part of my Kreutzer Sonata book review. In 1889, when it was first published in Russia, the government decided to prohibit the book because it promoted the idea that people should abstain from sexual activity, therefore pushing the concept that men should be MGTOW monks and that men were poor treatment, making things for them to consume to satisfy their desire for power. Because of the potentially devastating consequences of reading Tolstoy's story, the United States Post Office Department made it illegal to mail newspapers that contained serialized installments. But what could be so risky that it necessitated taking this action? Even one of the most beloved former presidents of the United States, Teddy Roosevelt, referred to Tolstoy as a sexual and moral degenerate. We can count ourselves fortunate that they protected the First Amendment and they overturned its restriction in New York and Pennsylvania. Because of this, it should be clear that the First Amendment is meaningless to ensure that women get what they want if males do not advocate for it. Now I'm going to read an overview of the book found on Wikipedia. Posnichev, the main character in the book, overhears a talk on a train trip about marriage, divorce, and love. When a woman argues that marriage should not be arranged based on pure love, he asks, "What is love?" He goes on to say, and points out that, if understood as an exclusive preference for one person, it often passes away quickly. Convention dictates that two married people stay together, and initial love can quickly turn into hatred. He then relates how he frequented prostitutes when he was young and complained that women's dresses are designed to arouse men's desires. A Russian court found a social media movement known as Male State guilty of inciting hatred toward homosexual people and women. The court outlawed the action because it was extreme. Access to the channels that Vladislav Pozniakov, the founder of Male State, was running was restricted last week on both YouTube and the messaging service Telegram. Since it was founded in 2016, the organization has grown to include thousands of members. They began their organization on Contact, VK, roughly analogous to Facebook in the English language. Pozniakov is supposed to be somewhere else in the world right now. Nizhny Novgorod is a city on the Volga River, approximately 440 kilometers, 273 miles, east of Moscow. The court in Nizhny Novgorod recognized the evidence presented by the prosecutor that Male State had harassed women and LGBT persons online. One illustration is how the organization went after a sushi restaurant chain known as Tanuki. The organization criticized the business because its advertisements featured a black man and rainbow colors representing LGBT people. The attorney for the organization, Zambolat Gabrayev, argued in court that the anti-Tanuki campaign was not racist, but that it was appropriate to condemn the rainbow colors of the sushi in the ad. According to him, it is against the law in Russia to spread pro-LGBT messages that young people could see. The rainbow colors of the sushi in the ad violated this law. A law passed in Russia in 2013 prohibits the broadcast of homosexual propaganda targeting young people. This includes material and symbols related to gay lifestyles and LGBT insignia. That law has garnered the disapproval of a large number of people. According to BBC Russian, the court received evidence from a Russian anti-extremism center, which identified the ideology of the Male State as a campaign to re-establish a patriarchal society by subordinating the position of women. They presented the evidence throughout the trial. There is a significant problem in Russia with sexism and homophobia, but individuals who voice these attitudes are rarely brought to justice. Pozniakov was found guilty of extremism in December of 2018 and sentenced to 2 years in prison. Before this, a prosecutor had accused his group of actions aimed at demeaning women. Pozniakov accepted his guilt at the time, but they didn't discover that he had fled Russia until shortly after he was sentenced. Mr. Gaborayev responded in response to the prosecutor's criticism of male state for harassing women. These were women who had themselves denigrated men. During the 2018 FIFA World Cup, which was held in Russia, the organization started a campaign to shame Russian ladies who mingled with fans from other countries. In 1890, the United States Post Office Department prohibited mailing newspapers containing serialized installments of the Kreutzer Sonata. The U.S. Attorney General confirmed this in the same year. Some American publishing houses published excerpts from the story as separate pamphlets to advertise it and distributed them through street vendors in New York for a nominal price. Carts even appeared in the city on which it was written in large letters. Forbidden by the Russian government and the Postmaster General of the United States is Tolstoy's best work, the Kreutzer Sonata. They struck down the ban on its sale in New York and Pennsylvania courts in 1890. Now we're the summary of the book. During a train ride, Poznichev overhears a conversation concerning marriage, divorce, and love. When a woman argues that marriage should not be arranged but based on true love, he asks, "What is love?" and points out that it often passes, if understood, as an exclusive preference for one person. Convention dictates that two married people stay together, and initial love can quickly turn into hatred. He then relates how he visited prostitutes when he was young and complained that women's dresses are designed to arouse men's desires. He further states that women will never enjoy equal rights if men view them as objects of desire. He further describes their situation as a form of power over men, mentioning how much of society is geared towards their pleasure and well-being and how much sway they have over men's actions. Poznichev relates that after he meets and marries his wife, periods of passionate love and vicious fights alternate. She bears 5 children and receives contraceptives. The last excuse for our swinish life. Children were then taken away, and life became viler than ever. His wife takes a liking to a violinist, Trochachevsky, and the two perform Beethoven's Kreutzer Sonata, Sonata No. 9 in a major for piano and violin, Op. 47, together. Poznichev complains that some music is powerful enough to change one's internal state to a foreign one. He hides his raging jealousy and goes on a trip, thinking that the violinist is about to move away. However, he is aware from his wife's letter that the musician has not left and has visited her instead. Returning early, he finds Trochachevsky and his wife sitting at the table and kills his wife with a dagger. The violinist escapes. Poznichev states, "I wanted to run after him, but remembered that it is ridiculous to run after one's wife's lover in one's socks, and I did not wish to be ridiculous but terrible." He realizes what he has done only a few days later when he is led to his wife's tomb. He is acquitted of murder in light of his wife's apparent adultery. At the end of his tale, Poznichev implores the narrator for forgiveness. Due to the unusual and scandalous nature of the work, the publication of the Kreutzer Sonata was prohibited. Only after a conversation between Countess Alexandra Andreevna Tolstoy, Leo Tolstoy's great-aunt, the famous Alexandrine, a girl, chambermaid, and tutor of Grand Duchess Maria Alexandrovna, with Emperor Alexander i.e., the emperor allowed the story to be published as part of the next volume of Tolstoy's collected works. However, the censorship ban only increased the attractiveness of the story, which long before publication began to be distributed in lists and read in private homes. In the epilogue to the Kreutzer Sonata, published in 1890, Tolstoy clarifies the intended message of the novella, writing, "Let us stop believing that carnal love is high and noble, and understand that any end worth our pursuit, in service of humanity, our homeland, science, art, let alone God, any limitation, so long as we may count it worth our pursuit, is not attained by joining ourselves to the objects of our carnal love in marriage or outside it." That infatuation and conjunction with the object of our sensual love, whatever the authors of romances and love poems claim to the contrary, will never help our worthwhile pursuits but only hinder them. Countering the argument that widespread abstinence would lead to a cessation of the human race, he describes purity as an ideal that provides guidance and direction, not as a firm rule. Writing from a position of deep religiosity that he had explained in his confession in 1882, he points out that not Christ, but the Church, which he despises, instituted marriage. The Christian's ideal is the love of God and his neighbor, self-renunciation to serve God and his neighbor. Carnal love, marriage, means serving oneself, and therefore is, in any case, a hindrance in the service of God and men. During the international celebration of Tolstoy's 80th birthday in 1908, G.K. Chesterton criticized this aspect of Tolstoy's thought in an article in the September 19 issue of Illustrated London News. Tolstoy is not content with pitying humanity for its pains, such as poverty and prisons. He also pities humanity for its pleasures, such as music and patriotism. He weeps at hatred, but in the Kreutzer Sonata, he weeps almost as much at the thought of love. He and all the humanitarians pity the joys of men. He addressed Tolstoy directly. What you dislike is being a man. You are at least next door to hating humanity, for you pity humanity because it is human. For a long time now, women have been at the top of the food chain when it comes to dating, relationships, and getting what they want. But now there's a new movement on the rise called MGTOW, which stands for Men Going Their Own Way. In this video, I'm going to talk about what it is, how it works, and why more and more men are joining up every day. Be sure to check the video to learn more.